Hi. So, I already told you about the motion to the court that was filed against me, and that included lies, that I was aggressive, hostile, and stalked by mafia, where I'm not really that sure, but if I ever used the word mafia, then I used it once and I wasn't, walking, panicking, crying, convincing people that I was stalking by mafia. It never happened. So, therefore, I believe if you use the word mafia once to describe your experience, and then the motion to the court presents it as your, I believe, daily reality, and then I don't think it's fair. So, yeah, I'm gonna be talking about madness. I'm gonna be talking about various types of fears and madness. And I'm gonna start today with reading the psychiatrist opinion from the court. And if that's something that interests you, if you know anyone who suffers from psychological ailments, or maybe if that's you, then I think this video is for you. Right, so let's jump right in. Let me just find the opinion. Here it is. So it says, spontaneously informed she had a visit by a psychiatrist after coming back from Holland. They persuaded her for examination. Let me just make it bigger. It was her first job. Colleagues were spying on her. She gathered quotes. She showed the file of documents where she wrote down all situations. For example, the phone called at 4 a.m. on its own. Cousin in special forces told her about an app signal so that it would be safer. She couldn't download apps, applications turned off. A colleague accused her of using. He wanted another girl to live with her in the room. She was seen masturbating. Then he told a story of shagging in public, and everyone was looking at her. There was a gossip about snitching. They said they didn't know her name. She was quoted. She wrote it all down. There were provocations, a lot of references to her life. She will be transparent. Someone will come who saw the situations actually happened. She wanted to go to the court to think over the issue. Her boss was seducing her. As it was implied in her utterances, above situation started in July of 2021. A family took her to the psychiatrist who conducted the examination in 15 or 20 minutes. She didn't feel heard, and the doctor wrote alcohol, drugs, delusional disorder. Our psychiatrist didn't prescribe any drugs. She denied having any suicidal attempts. She didn't have any suicidal attempts. I'm sorry. She didn't have any suicidal intentions. She didn't have any suicidal attempts. She sleeps from 10 p.m. till 7 a.m. Lately, she sleeps worse because she doesn't work. She didn't give any details. She hasn't put on weight lately. She weighed 62 kilograms when being 172 centimeters tall. She denied the presence of psychosomatic disorders. She doesn't take any medicine regularly. In the past, she was allergic to dust mites. In childhood, she had a procedure to remove cast. Sometimes she took melatonin to enhance sleep. She smokes 20 cigarettes a day. She drank alcohol once a month in a foreign country. She didn't answer explicitly the question regarding drugs or afterburners. In the family, she had a sister treated for depression, a father and a brother addicted to alcohol. Other than that, with no psychiatric diseases in the intended family. She has got 4 siblings. She graduated from extramural master studies in English philology. She worked as a teacher. She used to work seasonally in foreign countries. For 2 months, she has been unemployed. She's a single and she hasn't got any children. She lives with her parents. Today, she's moving out. She wants to start a new job. She's looking for a job. She's got a job on a cruise with doing the washing up. She's looking for an online job. She makes a face gymnastic, and someone does what she does, kisses. At home, she has no duties. Let me just take one note. Um, yeah, I'm back. The assessment of mental health, allopsychic and autopsychic with aligned mood, psychomotor nervousness, episodic utterances, absent-mindedness, interview hard to conduct utterances, uncommunicative, ambivalent, magical thinking present, uses weird terms, uses English words when speaking Polish, present delusional content, delusions of references in Polish owładnięcia and odsłonięcia. Here, she uses unknown to me terminology, which means conviction of the patient that other people hear their thoughts. None of my utterances then could indicate that. Delusional interpretation of the factual events, probably a delusional interpretation of impaired perception, affectively maladjusted, cleft symptoms present, parathymia and paramania. She did not express any resignation and denied suicidal intent without the awareness of mental illness during the medical examination without a relevant cognitive function impairment. Conclusions. Based on personal medical evaluation and the analysis of the court records, I recognize in Kinga Lvovska the symptoms of mental illness, paranoid schizophrenia. She also recommended placement in a psychiatric hospital. Okay. So the motion, the opinion says that I spontaneously informed about the examination with the previous psychiatrist. So, these are the things that people, I believe, keep to themselves, the visits at psychiatrist. And I didn't inform her spontaneously because I just answered her question. So I don't understand if Dr. Rokita perceived me as somebody who just jumped into her office and boasted about seeing a different psychiatrist. I believe the entire opinion was written in a chaotic way, not in the order I was telling the story. Because the truth is, when I was leaving her office, I told her about the job proposal I had. It was supposed to be a job on the boat. And yes, it was about doing the dishes, washing the dishes. But the entire job proposal was, very convenient because I could make 1,700 euros for a month with no paying for accommodation or food, having the food provided. So that was the offer I have never seen in terms of the salary and expenses reduction. And whereas, I told her all about it, and she just stated that I was planning to wash the dishes, which is about emphasizing the fact that as an English teacher, all of a sudden I wanted to diminish my competence. No, I've been diminishing my competence when working in Holland as a blue-collar worker, apparently. And then after she stated that in the opinion, she goes like, somebody makes face gymnastics like she does with kisses. Well, I did provide that example as proof of being hacked, having a hacked phone, and people quoting me. But I did it much earlier, not when I was leaving her office. When I was leaving her office, my question was, can I work on the boat with the crews when having, a legal case started by my mother? Yeah. So for me, the entire composition of that opinion is just constructed on purpose to appear chaotic. Okay. Then she says that I used weird terms. So here's my question: which one? Because everyone can say, a patient uses weird terms without specifying. I don't know where did I say a weird thing. I don't know what she considers to be a weird thing. I don't know how many weird things did I say in 1 hour of time. Um, so yeah, I would like to know that for sure. Um, because then all of a sudden, my mother wrote that I acted weird at work when she couldn't call because she didn't speak any language. And then there is yet another opinion but by Anna Leszkowicz, who also mentioned the word weird. I mean, this is very not professional. Um, and I've been sitting down and wondering, pondering, where did I use the word? What was the weird thing I said? And in one moment of time, yeah, of course I was stressed. Of course I wanted to appear normal, but I was also sure that I'm gonna, go through it with flying colors, and I was sure I was fine. So the only thing that, I said in a weird way perhaps was about, the night shift. I said something that the light was pushing me out. The light was pushing me out of sleep, and therefore I had to take melatonin because, all of a sudden I had to sleep during the day. So what I meant was disrupted sleep, but, having speech problems, yeah, from there were a lot of moments in my life, longer periods, when I struggled with speech, and yeah, that's also discussed in the book. So especially when seeing psychiatrists, oh dear, yeah. Um, but with this conversation, that there's this. That's the only thing that I said in a weird way. But what could be perceived as well, and what she might have classified as this magical thinking, because she mentions magical thinking. She wrote that the phone called at 4 a.m. in the morning on its own. Well, let's provide the context, because I gave her the context. Like, I was doing the night shift. I was having a break at 4 a.m. in the morning, and I was with a lot of people outside smoking a cigarette, and there was this little tiny bag for documents where I had my phone. So the phone started to ring. I took it out, and it was our driver. And I told him, "Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't calling you, it's just the phone. And then I asked people around me, "Can you fix my phone? Something is off." And they just laughed and told me to throw the phone down the stairs. And that was it. And then the driver never told me, "Well, Kinga, never, please don't call me at 4 a.m. in the morning ever again." He wasn't angry with me, nothing. Yeah, and then the opinion says, I used English when speaking Polish. Well, I studied English for 5 years. And so I like speaking English, and I spent and the entire year living in Holland, and yes, I liked speaking English over there, and this is what I did. So yeah, I sometimes can mix both of these languages. And then she goes with, denied. She denied having any suicidal intentions. She denied she didn't have any suicidal attempts, and she denied suicidal attempts. She actually said that 3 times. And here's the thing: no, I didn't have any attempts. But yeah, the thoughts, short thing I had, and you know, that's the moment where I lied. It's because I didn't feel safe enough with that woman to say that, and basically in the context of talking to a psychiatrist, I didn't feel safe enough. Yeah. Um, I think I'm gonna be telling you more about all those moments where I felt down. Um, it's also included in the book, but I also believe from a lot of people, it's the intentional action on their part to make people feel so down that they would actually have those thoughts. Okay. Um, Next thing. I was also told that I would have yet another meeting with the shrink, with yet another psychiatrist, and I didn't. So after 1 hour of seeing me, she stated I had paranoid schizophrenia. So everyone else told me I was possibly psychotic. Every other psychiatrist I met told me possibly psychotic, and they told me they didn't know. But she was sure after 1 hour of medical examination. I have to tell you that with each and every visit, I talked about the same things. I talked about having a hacked phone, and I talked about family dynamics. So, Ms. Rokita used, in the opinion, there are some words I do not entirely get, medical terminology, but she used terminology such as delusions of reference, such as in Polish owładnięcia and odsłonięcia. So, I believe that people can read my thoughts. So during that time, when I had my hacked phone, and when I talked about my family dynamics, I didn't believe that there is this entire space around you called Akashic Records. Now I do. But it took me 2 years, 2 years of writing, putting the stories together, and developing my extrasensory perception to actually to get that. So I would say the woman was pretty much ahead with what I would know later on in life, or what I would believe in later on in life. So other than those suicidal intentions or attempts and my weight, I didn't, give her the details that I fasted for 14 days in Holland, but my weight was actually quite stable. But I skipped, starting a conversation about 14 days of fast. This is my body, and actually I decide if I fast for 14 days. And in my life, I fasted longer than that. So, yeah. Other than that, other than these two things that I didn't feel secure to say, I told the truth. So during that time, I'm sorry, but I didn't believe somebody could read my thoughts. During that time, no. Okay. All right. So then there was, the time to search for. When I got the opinion and I was done, there was the time to first move out from my mom's place, and then search for an objective evaluation, somebody who would look at me in an objective way. But I did not entirely believe that, because what I believed was, if you go to a psychiatrist, it means for them that there is something off, and for me it was a paradox. So I found a woman online. It was Miss Alexandra in Warsaw, working with University of Warsaw, and it was an online consultation, and I called first to make sure that with an online consultation still I could get an opinion from her, because I knew that possibly it was not always possible. So I was told yes. I paid 300 zlotych for that consultation, and I learned from her that she didn't write any opinions after online consultations. When I implied I would like to see her again just to make it, close it and have it, then she said she couldn't. And what was else? She also told me that she didn't know if I had my phone hacked or not because she wasn't there with me. Whereas with my friends, we talked about it, that she doesn't have to know that. It's not about that. Just based on what I said, she had to decide if I was mentally healthy or if I was healthy or if I was insane. Yeah, so she recommended me to go to a psychiatric hospital and do the evaluation over there, where actually, I was trying to avoid being placed in a psychiatric hospital, and therefore I was doing the evaluation, right? I was searching for other medical opinions. So thanks a lot. For me, the woman didn't have an opinion. I told her about the court case, and that was my impression, she started to record me. So thanks a lot. Okay. And the next one was my psychiatrist, Roman Mikua, who is actually a very smart man. And he told me that if I was stalked by mafia, by UFO, then probably it would be easier for him to make an opinion, to have an opinion. But because of the hacked phone, it's harder to say. And he told me he didn't know. The man saw me at least 3 times. Of course, and this second, third visit would be much shorter than the first one. And because I got an opinion from Anna Leszkowicz, who also works, in the same building that Roman Mikua, I asked my psychiatrist to write me an opinion and to decide if I was aggressive. Although maybe the entire request was stupid, because how can you say if somebody is aggressive in artificial settings? But I didn't, suggest to him, please write I was not aggressive. I would just ask him, write what you think, but include this, aggression in it. So he wrote down that I wasn't aggressive and I was possibly psychotic. And it turned out also that I had to go to Anna Leszkowicz and make a test. And in the ending result, I got the opinion from a psychologist first, before I got it from my shrink. So Anna Leszkowicz used a lot of pencil. This is what she did. She did a lot of that work here. She never touched her face with hands. So whenever she lied, she used a pencil. She used a relocation of the gesture to a pencil. The same thing was like I saw with my friend's friend, who would touch her ear. Whenever she wanted to, cover her mouth, touch her nose, she would touch her ear repeatedly. Okay. All right. So Anna Leszkowicz wrote in her opinion that I had a tendency to lie, and she stated that because of the way she interpreted the chart. And she told me that the chart showed the straight line, and that was because I was trying to hide something. And, some part of the chart showed a straight line, but before that straight line, there were 2 hills, actually. So I asked her to send me the chart, to give me the chart too. And I was texted that the chart, based on which she conducted her interpretation, and she drew a conclusion I had a tendency to lie, can be sent only to another psychologist. Yes. And when giving me the opinion, the woman told me she felt aggression. I didn't agree with her, so she changed the word aggression into anger. She felt anger from me. So I basically, had enough. So my mother stated in the motion for the court that I was aggressive when most of my life I was not. And then the woman hands me the opinion, and she says that she felt anger from me, and I'm supposed to come back to that woman and feel safe to say anything I want to say to get the support from such a person. Well, I denied, and I felt scared and intimidated by such words from this person. Um, and the truth is, I went just through the few lines of that opinion. It was one page and half of the other page long. So I didn't even know what was exactly in the opinion. So I didn't have a formed, reaction to it. I was surprised. I was surprised because I expected my psychiatrist to give me an opinion, and instead I got it from a psychologist who conducted the tests. So the tests were included 500 questions, and here are some of them. Do you eat like a piggy when no one is looking? And that's precisely the only, I think, question where I lied. When I lied. So obviously, it was about eating in a different way in public and in privacy. So I wasn't, so forward with speaking about my shame, like picking nose, farting, dirt, insects, and so on. Not yet, but I was coming there. So that was the only question I lied in. And the questions for me had a very weird structure because, some of them sounded like this. Do you have an impression you drink too much water? Well, for me, the sentence should say, do you drink too much water? Or do you think you have a tendency to take people's things? Well, for me, the question should go like this. Do you take other people's things? Because, I did still, yeah, it happened in my life, but I wouldn't speak here about tendency. And here's the thing, if I recall the episode of taking the money from my mom's piggy bank, and I wrote it down, but the question required me to say yes or no. Do you think you have a tendency to take people's things? Well, wow. So I just wrote something on the side, and she just looks at yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, and then she looks at the chart. Okay. So that was the question. Here's the thing also, because it was 2 years ago, it was also for me hard to say. And that was the question where I would like to lie, but I didn't lie. And the question with, if I eat in a nice way or not a nice way in privacy, in public, is not such relevant. Okay. And let's get back to the Ms. Rokita from the court, my psychiatrist from the court. So, two psychiatrists I saw in Poland talked about possible psychosis, and there was, this one in Germany who told me I had the clarity of the mind and I was possibly psychotic. Okay, and because I was more likely to to consider psychosis, then all of a sudden I got the note from the court, from the psychiatrist, from Ms. Rokita, stating that it was the estimation of my health for a given day. So I asked the lawyer, is that mean that I had 1 day or 1 hour lasting schizophrenia? Because I do not understand. Because I didn't. But then my mother, withdrawn the motion, and I was told by the lawyer that if my mother decided to do so, the case could be over that day. But the judge said, Well, we don't know. She didn't know what to do because the opinions are not clear for now, so she sent me for another examination when the case could have been closed. The argument she used was that, oh, because your sister is gonna say something again and then we'll see each other in the courts again. So she sent me for another examination and I didn't go to that examination because I already did so. I already gained two opinions and I already am labeled. So as I mentioned, in the opinion by Rokita, it is stated that she advised placement in a psychiatric hospital, and my lawyer, whose surname is the same, Rokita, told me that it was a standard procedure, that it had to be stated in the opinion. So, well, you write your opinion for the court, and you have to use some logic when you write. Because when somebody says it's a standard procedure, you don't have to worry about it. It's not about the placement. When it says it actually is about the placement, it's for the court. So for the court, when I was looking for psychiatrists and I had difficulties with finding them because Miss Ola, took my money and she didn't give me an opinion. She didn't even want to continue with me. Um, and then I had a phone call with my lawyer Rokita, who told me that maybe we could say at the court that they don't write opinions to healthy people. And then the next meeting at the court, he just didn't come. He sent me somebody to represent him, and I filed all the opinions I had, and then I talked to that lady who was a lawyer replacing Rokita. Um, and I told her that, that Anna Leszkovic's opinion didn't look well. Um, and she goes like, I couldn't, you know, well, look, if I talk to my lawyer, even if that lawyer has changed from day to day because she was representing somebody else, then it's my lawyer. Then talk to me when you talk to me. Even if I have, I don't know, stupid idea, I imply things, talk to me. So my understanding is if I decided to lie at the court, it wouldn't work for me, because if I decided to lie at the court and if I told Mr. Rokita that, yeah, I would tell that they don't write opinions to healthy people, then I would have a different lawyer sitting with me during the sitting. It's just amazing. Uh, and I have to tell you, when going to psychiatrists and having this knowledge about my mother filing the motion to the court, when I had to say that, I already felt like, a loser. I already felt like, I lost the case and I lost the objective opinion because of the fact that the motion was filed to the court. Because if somebody goes to the court, then it really means that the person has to go, do act out, and whoa. So therefore, for a long time, I was just wondering, should I or shouldn't say? But with each psychiatrist, with Mrs. Ola, and with Mr. Roman Mikula, I said it was for the court. Well. Is there anything else? Yeah, and there was, I moved into a new flat because I left my mom's flat, and there was a guard and neighbors. They were asked about me. There were if there were any parties, and then I had a curator who visited me. Just when I had a fortune teller visiting me, the curator knocked on the door. And so that's Anna Leszkovich talked to me that she's not doing a fortune telling to me, which is an interesting thing to say, bearing in mind the fact that I actually used my sister's friend to do the fortune telling to me. And what I have to tell you about the price of the lawyer's services, I paid him 800, and when the trial was over, I learned that I should pay him 800 more. And we didn't have any agreement signed. I don't know how does the Polish law look like, but the thing is, he read my book and he knew I didn't do well in the past. And yeah, I didn't ask about the price either, and he's still waiting for that money because I didn't work for a long period of time lately. And when it comes to the court case itself, there were a lot of factual mistakes. So I started to work in a fast food restaurant then, and then I started to cooperate with an online school. But what I said at the court, it was the school that was placed in Krakow, and they wrote that it was placed in Berlin. They repeated at me in Berlin. And then my mother talked about the bus that stopped in Cologne, and actually the bus stopped for me in Düsseldorf. And there were many more examples of, misinformation, like the wrong things being noted down by the court's secretary. And what is interesting for me too is that my psychiatrist surname is Rokita, my lawyer's surname is Rokita, and then when the trial was almost over, in 4 months or 5 months, I got the info that the case was closed. I lived with the girl whose surname was Rokita. She was a student. So yeah. But when it comes to surnames, of course, my entire book is full of them. And in my entire book, you will find a lot of repetitions and a lot of people who had the same surnames. So if you want to learn more, if you are curious about the story, how the story unravels, if you want to learn more about the system, and if you want to learn more about madness, then please drop me a line at lkinga788gmail.com. And if you want to buy my course, Amelia, the course about the victims of sexual abuse, if you want to learn the ways the ways in which our personalities are shaped, then please click the link below and you will find all the information in the description of the video. You will find it on my website and you will find it on my Instagram account. So if you like this video, please hit the like button. If you like this video, please share it with other people too. Thanks for watching.